Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes your projects hassle-free. Forget something you need? Visit HomeDepot.com or the Home Depot app for free delivery on millions of products, including same-day and next-day options. Get delivery at the speed you need, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability.
We have been told that we are the big boys in town.
Well, he's yapping. He's into it. I'm talking about he is like lit.
He's trying to start preaching.
Let everybody say amen.
I can get chills a little bit thinking about what these two guys could be.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here with Falcons Audible presented by AT&T. A Falcons victory. Woo! Falcons Audible presented by AT&T. A 24-14 win, primetime Monday Night Football matchup, Atlanta Falcons over the Buffalo Bills. Guys, we knew this matchup coming in had a lot of, shall we call it, implications, right? Not necessarily postseason implications, but when you are trying to measure where you're at as an organization against a team that has basically lived in the postseason, 7 out of the last 8 years they've been in the postseason, been to 2 AFC title games, Buffalo Bills. Reigning MVP at quarterback, arguably one of the best players in the league, and Josh Allen, is you're going to be tested, and if you want to kind of figure out where you fit in the grand scheme of things, I listened to the press conference last night, Raheem Morris was even saying, that's the type of organization team that we are trying to be, right? Is you had a prime opportunity to show everybody in America what you are and the growth that you have made, and they did just that. So, Shock, let's get your kind of overwhelming feelings about the game. Like after you ended up stepping away from the game, you just saw everything that happened. Some of your first impressions were?
Man, that's a good question because the mind is going everywhere because there are a lot of good things that happened in that ball game last night as we're recording this, obviously, on Tuesday. And, obviously the player part of it in me, looks at a certain couple players here, there, defensively, offensively, stuff that happened. But when I stepped away from it and I thought even deeper about it, the one thing that stuck out to me was I thought the coordinators shined. I thought both coordinators on both sides of the ball showed the entire country, like you just talked about, what these two sides of the ball could look like when they're firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. And I thought this is the vision that Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot all thought about way back when none of us knew exactly what they were trying to do, all the different pieces they were trying to pull together. And you see it all kind of come together in this ballgame. Now, there's certainly things that they want to work on and get better at, but there were a lot of opportunities in this ballgame. You say, man, this is a fun team to watch. They can do a lot of different things, and I thought give a lot of credit to Z-Rob and his crew on that offensive side for the plan they put together. Obviously, you got 2 weeks to get that going. Then defensively, you just talked about all the things that they have going on that side of the ball for the Bills. And the way I want to say you almost bullied Josh Allen and the Bulls on that side of the side of the ball with some of the things you did, some of the looks you created, some of the blitzes, some of the pre and post snap things that were really, really fun to watch as a guy who don't just see the game for just what it is, and just fun to see the coordinators shine in that moment on the biggest stage and see some of our guys who a lot of people on the national stage hasn't given them their due. And to be able to see them do it on that stage where the likes of LeBron James and everybody is tweeting about, man, these dudes are different. And that's what you want. And I think you continue this, and it's the reason why you were put on prime time 5 times this year, because I think a lot of people knew there's a lot of talent on this team.
DJ, you mentioned the coordinators, and I'm sure we're probably all going to talk about some different moments or plays in the game, but one stuck out to me, actually 2, but it's one concept stuck out to me. First half, motion, Felipe Franks, the former quarterback, under center, takes the snap, picks up the first down. But then they run the exact same play in the second half on this game-defining drive. But it wasn't the fact that they ran the play, it was the timing of when he ended up running the play again. But this time, exact same look, Franks gets under center and hard counts it. And they repped it. They drilled it. But it was like sometimes it's like we like the concept, we like the play. They hadn't seen this before. but it's the time that you do it, right? And they had to pick up 1 yard to really force Buffalo's hand, right? Felipe Franks gets under center, goes hard count, they jump off sides, free first down, right? And I said on the air last night, I said that was the perfect time to run that variation of the play because they'd already seen it in the first half. They're thinking, this is quarterback sneak. We already saw it. We got to jump the snap, right? And they get the false start, which turns into 3 Buffalo timeouts afterwards, which really hamstrung them.
Killed them, yeah.
So that was kind of, when you mentioned play calling, there was a couple of times, Arch, that I said the same thing, like, that was a great call, that was a great call, that was a great call. Had 2 weeks to prepare, but the right time for some of these plays I thought was perfect last night.
Yeah, I thought that you guys are bang on, and obviously guys have to implement the plan, right? You got to go make plays. But you got to have a plan to start off with, and you guys are dead on. I thought that both guys, Z-Rob does a great job on the offensive side, and Brick did a great job of the defense. And that was where the real challenge was, what was Brick going to do, Jeff Ulbrich, our defensive coordinator, what was he going to do with Josh Allen? And the ability to, as Shock talked about last week, the second piece of the play or the second play within the play is what he's king at. His ability at 6'5", 240 pounds to pull the ball, run through arm tackles, break down your pass rush, let you get in pass rush lanes, then pick a lane and go take off, all those kind of things. He had a 24-yard run at the end of the game that upped his number a little bit. I think he was held to 5 carries for like 18 yards. 18 yards in the game. I mean, that's unbelievable. We played him 3 years ago in Buffalo. He had 82 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. Threw 3 picks in the game, but he killed us running the football, right? And Buffalo won the game. But the coordinator piece of it is so dead on by both you guys. And I thought it was because we played with our personality. Jeff Ulbrich wants to attack. We talked about it all through preseason. We're going to attack up the field. We're a gap-attacking team. That's who we're going to be. We're going to play some man coverage in the secondary. We're going to attack the quarterback. I talked to him on Thursday of this last week. He goes, hey, this guy's going to make some plays, but we're going to attack him. We're going to make him make some plays. We're going to get after him. That's exactly what they did. And on the offensive side of the football, Zach did the same thing on offense. The final drive where you're trying to kill clock, run the ball, Bijan's run for 170 yards in the game. What do? Your first 5 plays are you throw the football. And because of your efficiency and not putting it on the ground and throwing incompletions, you're running the clock and getting first downs. And, Sean McDermott's over there looking, what the hell's going on? I thought that it was the personality. You guys talked about the plays and the execution and the intricacies of the X's and O's. I'm just talking about playing with personality. Your personality is to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. And they went and took the football game. Buffalo didn't make much of it. They took the game away from Buffalo.
I was on the national call last night with Kevin Kugler, and I was talking to Kevin during the break, right before that last Falcons offensive drive. And I'm looking up at the clock, and I'm looking at the score, and I believe it was about 6:47 left on the clock. And I said to Kevin in the break, I said, if Atlanta wants to become a next-level team, I said, they can go win the game right here. I said, they could put together a long drive and really handcuff Buffalo. And that's exactly what they did. As I look, 14 plays, 68 yards, 5 minutes off of the clock, okay, which kind of culminated in the play that I was talking about was involved in that. And what happens is, think about the flip side of that. If that would have been a 3-and-out that took about 1 minute and 7 seconds off the clock, you give Josh Allen the football back with, call it 5.5 minutes left. That's an eternity for them with 3 timeouts, by the way. Okay? There are so many things that he can do in that amount of time with them down by, because they wouldn't have got the field goal, right? They would only have been down 7 points at the time. But that's the drive that you need. Like I mentioned it afterwards, like we always talk about being situationally smart. Well, I'm not quite sure there was a definition of that one being a situation in the book, but it's kind of one of those situations like go out and win a game, right? And that was, to me, was a defining drive for them in this season because the offense did what they had to do to make it extremely difficult on the Buffalo Bills. And you mentioned Josh Allen had a nice run there, kind of tried to make it exciting, but then we ended up seeing an interception and they end up getting the victory.
Well, and that's 2 games in a row, Rack, that they've done that. Now, you go back to the Washington game, they had a 14-play drive to eat up, 7.5 minutes off the clock against Washington and pretty much killed the clock. and you ran the ball 12 of 14 times. You flip the script here. If you're Buffalo, you're thinking, okay, they're going to try to run the football. Bijan's killed us. We'll crowd the line of scrimmage. And all of a sudden, Bijan's catching it in the flat. Here's Drake catching the football. Now, it wasn't all clean. Let's be real here. Michael throws a ball that he's got to learn from that should have been picked off. Shaq Thompson jumps a slant route down near the red zone, and he should steal it. And he's probably going to be in a foot race to keep him out of the end zone. So, and I talked to Michael post-game. I said, hey, how'd you feel like how you feel like you played? And he said, there was some things I left on the table, some things I got to clean up. Yep. And so he's already thinking about that. And as quarterbacks, we're thinking about the negative plays. We don't think about the positive plays. So there's so many little things about it that make you feel good that you got guys that understand, hey, this isn't the top of the mountain. I didn't play anywhere near as good as I can. And yet you win games. And how much fun we've all got a chance to do this. Yep. Me probably less than you guys, but to be able to enjoy a win and still fix stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's the good part about it.
One of the things that sticks out to me, and Arch, when you said personality, one thing stuck out to me was the personality of the head coach. And I think we got to go back to the beginning of the ball game. You take the football to start the ball game. Your personality is your head coach saying, guess what? We ain't afraid of these dudes. We're going to go and we're going to dictate how this game starts, and we're not going to worry about the middle eight and all that kind of stuff. We're going to go take the football, and they do that, go right down and score. Yep. 3 consecutive opening drives for touchdowns at home is really big. So I love the aggressive nature that Rod had to start his ball game, and his team fed off it and said, hey, we had some things within our offense we knew we felt good about, and we were going to start it with football in our hand.
Guys, we talked about this last week about coming into the game, the challenge that was facing the Atlanta Falcons with Josh Allen. But guess what? Flip it around. The challenge facing the Buffalo Bills with Bijan Robinson, okay?
Yeah.
Can we go ahead and just start saying right now that this dude is a legitimate, if not front runner for the MVP right now? I mean, this dude is special.
I think we got to give
how many times do we say that? Like
last week,
called him the best player in the league.
Best player in the league.
We can't get any better than that.
Last week, we did all the talking about Josh Allen. We talked about James Cook. We talked about all the weapons on there. Arch said, hold on. Buffalo got some stuff they got to worry about too. And I'll be damned.
You know
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, I mean, not only was it Bijan in the first half, but I mean Drake London. I mean, and Raheem said it after the game. He said this dude is a dog. And you watch him when he gets – I was talking to a colleague this morning, right? And I said – when Drake London and Bijan Robinson get going, I said this team is dangerous because everybody else just feeds off their energy. But specifically with Drake, like when he gets the football, it's like he's got a little anger to him now, right?
No question.
Like that physicality, like he uses his size.
First dude's in a fight. That's what it is.
Yeah. And
if you mess with one of his guys, he's the first guy in. You think, okay, here comes an offensive lineman, be a defensive line. No, it's five. Five's right on top of you.
I mean, the maturation of him over the years, guys, I mean, with the catch that he makes on the 1 yard line, gets wrapped up and takes the football and just reaches it across the plane like
it's your little brother on your back and he's trying to get the ball from you. And
right.
That's your little brother. Nah, you can't have it. Come on. It's over here. Don't
he's
worry
like,
about that.
You're draped on me, but look, you see this here? That's a touchdown right there. It just watching his continued development, I'm sure he was frustrated early on in the season, wasn't able to get in the end zone, but Michael Penix has found a way to say, this guy gets open, I'm getting him the football. And I feel like that energy that he brings, Arch, makes everybody else on this offense even more excited.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think that there's no question that Drake has an energy around him that people feed off of. He's got angry is the right way to say it. He plays angry, and he's angry at himself if he doesn't make a play, but he's going to get angry if you try to make a play, And I thought that and we're going to get some film breakdown from Shock here on AtlantaFalcons.com, where he's going to go in depth on Drake and show you some of the intricacies that Drake brings to the table, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Shock's going to really break some stuff down. So if you want to tune into that, stay tuned to AtlantaFalcons.com and watch his breakdown of some of the film. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. But you've got some guys. We've got guys like that are star players. When your star players are your glue guys. I mean, man, you got something going on now.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson and Drake London are your star players. If you picked stars on this team, and obviously fantasy has something to do with that because I can get points, but for a fan's perspective in California or Toronto, Canada, wherever you are, you're going to look at Drake London and Bijan Robinson. They're your glue guys, too. They keep the team together. Usually it's those worker bee guys that kind of glue the team together. Your best players. That says a lot. You go back to talking about Raheem and talking about the personality of the coaches and all that kind of stuff. That's what culture is. I think the fan has been beaten over the head with the idea of culture. That's what it is when your best players are your glue guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
What's crazy is the fact we sit in here weekly and we are surprised by the things that number 7 does every week. Like, every week you watch him, you're like, man, that was crazy. I don't know how he did that. And then the next week, there's something different. The amount of things that he adds to an offense, adds to a team, is quite unbelievable. And to have – I know Z-Rob's one of the probably most excited guys every night to go to bed, to wake up the next morning to be able to draw stuff up for this guy because it doesn't matter where you put him on. I mean, they threw the guy's speed out in the game the other day. Like, come on, man. This man does everything. And he's not just a running back that will go out there and run option routes like everybody else.
Right.
This guy runs the route tree, but also you throw him the ball in the flat for 2 yards, and I literally saw him make 6, 7 guys miss within a small window and pick up 12 yards. Like, come on, man. This dude is different, and I'm with Ra. I mean, you put him next to anybody, I'm be like, I'm taking 7 all day.
Some of the numbers on Bijan are unbelievable. I'm going to leave a couple to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention a couple, and I'll mention Drake and Bijan because that's where we are, and then I'll let you talk about Bijan and where he is from a historical standpoint. Bijan and Drake, 150 yards receiving, 150 yards rushing with both those two guys. That's only happened one other time in team history.
Yeah.
As it turns out, they were the guys that did it last year. Last year in team history. Yeah. Last night we celebrated the 60th anniversary of this football team. That's been done by 2 other guys. It's the same 2 guys. They did it right in January, right? So they've done it twice in the same calendar year. Yep. But there's some unbelievable numbers, Rack. I'll let you dive into them.
Guys, it's kind of funny because when you play in the NFL, like at the end of the day, Raheem Morris is right. Like the only thing you're worried about is getting a win, right? And so he's kind of joked a couple of times and he said stats are for losers, right? So I guess you could just throw me in the category that I'm a loser. But we're in the media, so we talk about stats a little bit. One thing I thought was interesting in the first half, okay? By the way, Atlanta Falcons 335 yards in the first half, most by any team in a half this season, and most by the Falcons in the first half since 2009, okay? Let me just talk about those numbers though. It was 168 rushing and 167 passing. Okay, perfect balance. But do you guys remember the very last play of the first half? What happened?
Yeah, it was a slant. He didn't get in.
That was short by how long?
An inch,
half a yard.
Fingernail.
Technically 1 yard.
Yeah.
So if Drake gets into the end zone, their first half numbers would have been 168, 168, right? Which is bizarre, right?
Yeah.
Falcons not able to get the final touchdown as the clock was expiring, but I think at that moment you got to let Drake be Drake and just see if he ends up beating him and gets into the end zone. There's a whole sheet here of stats when it comes to Bijan Robinson. I'm just going to throw out 2 of them. 238 yards from scrimmage, career best 170 rushing and 68 receiving, the most scrimmage yards by a running back on Monday Night Football since 1986.
Morris, baby.
Joe Morris, 1986.
I played against Joe.
Arch just like, I
remember that guy.
I played against that dude. And then through 5 games, second player to reach 450 rushing yards and 300 receiving yards in NFL history, joining Thurman Thomas.
Wow.
Like sometimes when you get into a category with certain players and that's it, like that's a pretty good company to be sitting in. So it shows what he's been able to do just early on this season. And there's nothing to say that this is not going to continue. You watch him each and every week, and it's like you could throw the most athletic defensive linemen, most athletic linebackers, secondary players. He's a mismatch for everybody that he goes against. And even the 81-yard touchdown, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Bishop or somebody had him. And they were wrapped up around his waist, and then he just ran through it. Yeah. And I'm sure that he was laying on the turf saying, yo, I had him. How did he not go down?
Yeah.
Because that's how he's different. Not only is he quick, not only is he fast, but he is deceptively strong, especially with the lower half.
Tried to say it. He is the Matrix.
Can't figure it
Mr.
out.
Robinson.
Can't figure it out.
Mr.
But
Robinson.
one other stat, and I know stats as Raheem says for losers, but Bracket, I've got a million stats here.
4,000.
822 scrimmage yards in the first 5 games. And you talk about going back in history now. Since McCaffrey, it's the most since Christian McCaffrey in 2019. But the only other guy on the list prior to that, O.J. Simpson in 1973 and 75. He did it twice. Those are the only 4 guys, or the only 3 guys that have had more yards from scrimmage in the first 5 games than the Bijan Robinson. It's just amazing.
You want to add one?
I want a stat, yeah. Okay. I mean,
got
everybody
one?
does that. Can I add one?
Yeah, get one.
Go ahead.
Get you
My
one.
man has surpassed 4K scrimmage yards.
How about that?
Ties the great William Andrews. And 39 games, only time to do it. Youngest to do it at 23. Come on, man. What we
Played
talking
with the Auburn Hammer too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those situations where, well, again, I was talking to Kevin Cougar before the game. He was like, "Yeah, kind of give me a breakdown of Atlanta." And I was like, "How much have you seen of Bijan Robinson?" He's like, "I've seen a little bit of him." I'm like, okay,
What did he say after the game?
wait.
What did he say after the
Just
game?
wait.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Right. So we talked a lot about the offense, but the defense as well. 4 sacks and held Bills to 2 of 10 on conversion downs. So 3rd and 4th down, they hold the Bills to 2 of 10. So the defense does their job against one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the National Football League. And we talked this week, fellas, one of my keys to the game was the Falcons are going to have to score because Buffalo came in averaging over 30 points a game.
Yeah,
30.6. It was 3rd best in the National Football League. And they scored a season-low 20 against the Patriots. They hold them to 14. A team that had been lighting up the scoreboard. So it kind of goes back to what you guys were originally talking about with these coordinators putting together great game plans coming off a bye week. But not only that, the players executing it. Every coach will tell you, you can put together the greatest game plan.
Yeah.
But if a player does not go out and execute it, if your team, your unit, does not go out and execute it, doesn't matter how good the game plan was.
Right.
Yeah.
So, fellas, here's the thing. It was a great win. But we've all been there. You celebrated for what? Maybe 24 hours.
Maybe
Got to move on.
Maybe.
Short week.
Because
so
as
probably
we're
you only
standing
got
right
12
now,
on
the
this one.
players are already looking at San Francisco.
For sure.
And
Gotcha.
guess what? You get another prime time matchup to go out and stack victories. So that's what it's all about, right? Consistency, stacking positive performances, and then you just never know how the score is going to shake out in the end. So, Arch, let's switch gears. Let's talk about San Francisco 49ers as the Falcons are going to go on the road, travel across the country. We already talked about the schedule, right? They're going to have to tune all the noise out as far as 13 straight weeks. Got to go out west, got to go overseas. Hey, that's the hand you're dealt. Now you just go out and execute. Early reports are that George Kittle's going to come back and practice this week. Maybe Brock Purdy's going to come back. However, they also lose one of their all-time greatest players, all-pro player and a linebacker, Fred Warner, goes out for the season. Give the folks that are listening and watching a little bit of flavor of what the 49ers are this year at 4-2.
Well, the first thing you got to know is there's a lot of pride in that team. That team's been in the mix late in seasons. I'm talking about deep in playoff runs, much like Buffalo.
Yep.
This is going to be a team that's expecting to be in the playoff run, and they still do. They have been banged up significantly. Last year they had a lot of injuries. Wide receiver core was depleted. They are banged up again this year in some places. But make no mistake, Robert Saleh, their new defensive coordinator, comes over after being the head coach of the Jets. He's a guy that kind of fashioned that defense into what it was. He and DeMeco Ryans and what they put together out there. You can bet that they're going to come back. They gave up 30 points to Tampa this weekend, and they gave up arguably the run of the year. Baker Mayfield pulls it down,
Third down.
and makes some kind of weird run because it's like your grandfather running with the ball and stuff, and he's bouncing off people, and he lays out and dives for a first down. But that, if there's another guy that's in the MVP voting, that's the guy.
In the division,
Baker Mayfield.
correct.
He's been phenomenal. But they ended up losing the football game. It's the first game they've played where it hasn't been a one-score game. They played in 5 one-score games up to this point.
Yeah.
And so they lose this one 30-19. Mac Jones has played really well at quarterback.
He has.
He'd been undefeated in playing for Brock Purdy. We know that Kyle Shanahan's an outstanding game planner. You know they're going to want to run the football and get back to kind of some of what they are is running the ball. I think they've gotten away from a little bit of that. I think maybe gotten a little bit too pass happy. I expect them to run a little bit, especially if you look at what Buffalo was able to do on the opening drive of the second half in this game. I thought that, and I said it at halftime, Wes asked me on the radio, he says, what do you think we're going to see? And I said, Buffalo's going to get back to the run game.
Yeah,
they're going to start trying to pound Cook. You can bet that McCaffrey's going to see a number of touches in this game. They're going to try to hit. He's their best football player. Get him the football. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust defensively. Obviously, Bosa's out. He's out for the year. And now Warner's out for the year. Those are two of their mainstays on the defensive side of the football. So you got to figure in maybe not in Salah's head, but in Kyle Shanahan's head, we got to go score points. We need to go put points on the board. I think they'll be aggressive, but I think they will want to run the football.
A lot of familiarity from a staff perspective in this game. Obviously, Shanahan, the head coach, has spent time with the Atlanta Falcons organization. You mentioned Salah. Ulbrich was working for him at the Jets. There's a lot of familiarity there. So these staffs are, DJ, quite familiar with how each one wants to attack. Now, everything changes week to week in the National Football League. But not only that, you've got the other player, the one other player that I would put right now in the same stratosphere, and this is no offense to Saquon Barkley because he's fantastic, but Christian McCaffrey, I think, is probably the one player in the NFL, and what he's done throughout the course of his career that most closely emulates Bijan Robinson.
Right.
And so you're going to have those two guys on the same field. They're electric in the run game. They're electric in the pass game. And they're going to get to go not necessarily head-to-head, but they're going to go against each other. This is still shaping out to be an excellent matchup.
It is. And, the one guy who Bijan went and trained with this offseason was Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. So, he recognized the ability and the value that Christian McCaffrey has. And I'm sure the Falcons will come in with that same kind of mindset coming in. Obviously, similar to what you did this week, and every week there's a plan. Okay, here's their guy. Here's what we have to focus on. Last week it was Josh Allen. They did a really good job of focusing on that. This week will be Christian McCaffrey for sure. You have to come in with a plan for him. But give this defense a lot of credit. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. This defense, 5 straight weeks holding opponents under 300 yards. Hasn't allowed a 200-yard passer this season. This is a defense that wants to get after you. And one thing that I enjoy watching this past ball game and the last few ball games, obviously, is the depth we have on the defense side of the ball, which is going to help you. And I love you look at a guy like D. Alford last night who had to come in. Billy Bowman was out, so he had to play in the slot. Last couple weeks, he was out there on the perimeter holding it down. Didn't have to call his name much. Having that kind of depth. You look up front. I mean, the guys, you just see waves of guys coming in playing. Obviously, Rook and Doyles are playing really good. We saw Onyemata get a sack. You talking about we got 14 sacks on the season. 12 guys have at least a half a sack, sack and a half.
Yeah, a lot of guys in the ball.
Right? A lot of guys flowing to the football. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the year. We said, do we want one guy? We want Leonard Floyd to go out here and have 10, 12 sacks, but we'd rather have multiple guys. Right. And I think it's a credit to what you guys just talked about with what Brick is doing, and guys are flying to the football. Everybody's happy for each other. And I think this bodes well for going on the West Coast. And I remember when I played, you guys did the same thing. You know exactly what I'm going to say. When you have a short week like this, the game plan is a little bit simpler because you want to go out and you want to play fast. You want to put in a whole bunch of different stuff. Then you're out there thinking about it. I think they have a plan of, hey, here's a lot of things that we do really well. Let's make sure we're really good on these things. And, yeah, we have a couple of wrinkles here and there and make sure we know who they are. But for the most part, when you have this short week, get your body back right. You're going to go to the West Coast, long flight. You got to make sure the small things, the details are there for you. And this is going to be one of those kind of games where going on the road, there are a lot of different distractions that you can have. And you can say, all right, here's why, this happened in this ball game. Good teams don't allow that. So I think this is a prime example of another time where you get a chance to show the country what you're all about on primetime again, and putting together consecutive good performances that people can say, you know what, they are for real.
Yeah, one of the things that happens, and Shock makes a really good point, short week, what happens in those bye weeks is, yes, you're doing self-evaluation, self-scout. You hear that all the time. But what also happens is there's a portion of the building that is advanced scouting, and they're preparing stuff for the 49ers. So they've already been working on San Francisco. So if you're at home saying, oh, my God, it's a short week and they're not going to be ready, no, they've already had a group of people working on getting the analytics and everything put together for what the 49ers are going to look like. So when they can present that to the players when they come in tomorrow, we've all sat in those meetings. They're ready to go. So don't feel like that's not going to be the case. I want to ask you guys a question. Okay, you're 3-2. There's been 2 really good performances here back to back. We know we had a really poor performance in week 3. What do you want to see as we emerge from this game? What would you like to see the Falcons be better at or with in this weekend against San Francisco? Where can they improve in your mind?
That's a great question, because it's like I was going to ask you guys keys, but this is a little bit of a twist on that. Where do they improve? I think I think about last week, and I think about some areas where if they, especially with McCaffrey, like this defense and their ability to stuff the run. Because to your point, like I think what San Francisco is going to look at is that opening drive in the third quarter and how they handed the ball off to James Cook, and for whatever reason, Buffalo went away from it. And I think James Cook was upset about that, by the way. I saw him on the sidelines a couple of times. But they're going to look at that, and they're going to say, gosh, there was quite a few seams there, and we've got Christian McCaffrey. Like, let's make sure we stay committed to the run game and see if they've got it fixed. A lot of times in the NFL, when there are issues, people put things into the game plan to see if they got it fixed.
That's right.
Right? Like, is this still going to be a problem, or can we take advantage of it? Can we exploit it, right? And you look up, and the Falcons' defense, for the most part, statistically toward the top of the National Football League. But there's always little areas that you can fine-tune. And the times that you see somebody in the run game kind of gash, because that drive, guys, it was like 8 yards, 12 yards, 9 yards, 7 yards, 11 yards. Like, that gets a little worrisome, because now they control the pace of the game like they did in the third quarter. Buffalo controlled the third quarter because of their ability to run the football. So tighten up there, knowing that the challenge is going to be just as difficult, if not more, with the guy that they're going to face in Christian McCaffrey. What do you think?
It's a good call.
For me, my mind goes to, as much as I love Drake getting his catches, love seeing Bijan get it, Drake was targeted 16 times in a ballgame. He was the only wide receiver that caught a pass in the ballgame. Kyle Pitts had 3. Obviously, Bijan had 6, I believe it was. Casey had a couple targets, but I want to see other guys have production. See other guys spread the wealth for sure. Like, there are going to be times where, Z-Rob does a great job of scheming, Drake open a bunch of times, but 16 targets to Drake. I mean, we got to spread. I want to see more guys have an impact in this ball game. And, Bijan and Drake, no doubt about it. Get them their targets. They got to touch the football. That's a no-brainer. But you can't go into every ball game saying, okay, these are the only 2 guys that are really going to make an impact. Yeah, Kyle had a couple catches here and there, but he could even have more production in going forward. So for me, it points to, let's have a spreading of the wealth, like you just mentioned, on the offensive side of the ball. And if that helps, guess what? That opens up even more things for this offense that helps us even be more explosive than it is now. And, obviously, you don't have Mooney back yet. He's still, going through the paces. You want to make sure that you have an equal amount of guys who can make some plays in this offense. And we've seen it happen, but down the road, you're going to need more guys to come along with you to make this offense even better.
Arch, you posed the question. Now you get to answer it.
Cubes think the same, because that was exactly.
Is that why you smiled at me?
That was that's exactly what I would have said. Is, hey, we got to have more than 2 guys make plays, and we did that. If you go back and look at the game against Washington, you had 4 different guys score touchdowns. So it's there. It's capability. And you got to learn as a quarterback, if you're Michael Penix and you're the guy distributing the football, and even the play caller to a certain extent, even though the play doesn't design, okay, you're going to throw it to him specifically. There's a read to it. But you do – Rashak will tell you, you get a guy that's catching it the way Drake is, your eyes naturally migrate to that guy to give him an opportunity. I'll pose mine more as a concern.
Okay.
Jake Matthews left the game with an ankle injury. Don't know the significance right now of the injury. We'll find out tomorrow from Raheem. We're recording Tuesday, as Shaq said. Wednesday is the first injury report. Not sure whether Jake will be able to go.
Or Jake is at like 183. Where's he at right now?
He is at 184, 184 consecutive starts, which is incredible to think.
For sure.
It was an ankle injury that forced him out early on in his career. He missed a game or 2 with an ankle injury. So Michael Jarrell, who came in at left tackle, was an option. He's a guy that Atlanta traded for right at the beginning of the season. Wilkinson's done a good job of filling in for McGarry. I had the Storm Norton is close, guys. He's the swing tackle. He's close to coming back. Here's one I'll pose to you. Jarrell played right tackle in Seattle last year. They got 3 starts, 10 games he played, 3 starts. Wilkinson started at left tackle during the preseason. You also have a guy playing left guard that played 45 games at left tackle at Syracuse. So there's some interesting kind of things that could develop there, and as well as Storm Norton potentially being available for you this week. It's a problem. Obviously, you don't like to lose those 2 edge guys that protect the quarterback coming off the edge and get that run game going. But that'll be something now to look for. So that's a concern for me as to what you look for.
No, man. But Burge and News working together, man, was pretty good in this ball game.
Oh, no question. No question.
I don't know if I want to break that up.
Well, yeah, you don't really want to mess with the chemistry, but the chemistry's already being messed with, right?
True.
And so that left side was pretty fruitful early on in the game with Jake and Burge coming off with Newsel inside.
Yeah, I mean, credit this offensive line, I think, has been doing a great job, not only with the holes that they've been opening for Robinson, but also in the pass protection. There was many a times that Michael Penix had plenty of time for these routes to develop downfield without really feeling a ton of pressure. And a lot of this offense that we talked about happens because the offensive line is doing their job up front. All right, guys, before we go, we did kind of a concern that we were looking to maybe get fixed. Let's talk about a key here. I want you guys all to give me one key in this game that you're going to think is vitally important that Atlanta has to execute or something has to happen, Shock, in order for them to win this game in a second primetime matchup in back-to-back weeks. What do you think that is?
I think for me is continue to stay ahead of the chains. That's something that obviously you were pretty good on this ball game. You're about 42% on third down this ball game. But I think if you stay ahead of the chains, it makes life for Z-Rob a lot easier when you're in third and medium, third and short, whatever it may be, to have opportunities to do whatever you want within his offense. And yeah, they converted a couple third and longs in this ball game, but I don't think that's where you want to live, especially on the road against a Robert Saleh-style defense who wants to be attacking as well. But I think if you stay ahead of the chains, run the football the way you're supposed to, I think then your offense continues to flourish. I'm not sure how you stop it or slow it down.
Yeah.
If they're clicking on all cylinders and you look up and, hey, Michael Penix can hand it off on 3rd and 4 or 5, or he can throw it. There's a lot of opportunities out there to win. So stay ahead of the chains in this ball game, and I think you'll be just fine, especially come offensively.
Love it. A huge proponent of that. Arch, what are you thinking?
It's funny. I my first 4 years of school were in the Bay Area, California. So I went to the 400 games, Giant games, A's games, Raider games. And I remember one of the things we used to do in the off-season when we weren't going to games is my family used to it was back in the day they called them flea markets, where you went and got stuff, kind of giving stuff away. It was kind of stuff for free or very minimal price stuff, right?
Yep.
Let's not make this a flea market for the 49ers in that let's not give them stuff for free. Let's make them earn stuff. We had some penalties in the back end.
Setup was nice right there.
You like that?
Setup was nice.
It was pretty, wasn't it?
I didn't know where we were going, but it makes sense now.
I was like, flea market?
We had I think we had 3 secondary penalties. And it's going to happen when you play man coverage and you got a guy like Josh Allen that can float around.
Yep.
Now, Brock Purdy plays. Brock doesn't have the prowess from a physical standpoint to do, but he does have the ability to buy time. Mac Jones does not. He's going to try to, but he's a little banged up. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that. Let's not give them any free plays down the field. I think they extended, 2 to 3 drives because of penalties on the back end. I think A.J. had a couple, and that's going to happen in man coverage. And the other side is probably a follow-up to what Shock says.
Yep.
To stay ahead of the chains, got to eliminate the pre-snap penalties. You can't have the unnecessary. We shouldn't have false start penalties in our own building anyway.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a pretty good crowd out in San Francisco, Santa Clara, where the stadium is. Let's not give them anything free. So no flea market this week in California.
No flea market. See how he brought that back full circle?
Brought it right back. I mean, that
What do you got
storytelling.
for us?
Guys, my key is actually a combination of what you guys said. The 2 things that came to my mind that I felt like Atlanta did pretty well, and even though you did talk about penalties, Atlanta, the 2 areas were turnovers and penalties, right? No turnovers, and yes, they had 6 penalties, but they went for 35 yards, right? And when you look up, that's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. And one of the things that I was talking about as a key for Buffalo last week is they've been having penalty issues. Their last 2 games, they had 11 penalties apiece. Yeah. And you talk about fighting against the chains. Think about how many times Buffalo was fighting against the chains. They had so many 3rd and long situations in that game on Monday night. So I reverse it, and I say for Atlanta, they don't turn the ball over, and they don't have a lot of penalties. And that's both sides of the ball. That's not putting yourself in bad situations on offense and giving away a lot of free first downs on defense.
Yeah.
This team is talented enough to be able to beat anybody in the league when they don't do those things. But when you have a lot of penalties and you make things hard on yourself to get off the field on defense, and you 3rd down and 12 all the time because it's 1st and 15 or it's 2nd and 10 because of holding penalties. Like, I don't care who your play caller is, it gets difficult, right? So turnover department and penalties. I think those discipline in those 2 areas is going to give them the best chance to have success on both sides of the ball going out to the Bay Area next week.
Way to go, Rack.
All right. So that's it. That's your initial areas of concern that we need to grow on, and that's keys to the game next week.
Flea market.
And if you got some time and you go to the flea market, just don't let people nickel and dime you. Okay.
I'm gonna go to the flea market and get me a DJ Shockley bobblehead. They got a bobblehead there, man?
If they do, it's real cheap.
One of the first times, everybody, just so you know, one of the first times that I saw DJ get a little uncomfortable was last night. I asked him what his government name was. I said, so I just started guessing stuff. I was like, Donald James, Desmond, Juniper, and he was very uncomfortable. Didn't like this. So maybe next week, maybe I'll get on the internet webs and I'll figure out what this is. But he was like, no, he's very adamant. No, my name is DJ.
Don't go Google. Nobody go Google. Nobody.
Well, we got a team of juniors, and he's a junior, so we're okay.
Yeah, look at Marcus. Oh, he won.
All right, remember to follow us on all your podcast apps, YouTube, AtlantaFalcons.com. Dave Archer already gave you a teaser that DJ Shockley's got some film breakdown coming on you, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
We got some film breakdown coming.
Drizzy Drake.
And at a minimum, just continue to come check us out. But we got podcasts for you all week long with the Atlanta Falcons. Check it out. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, all of your Atlanta Falcons fix on the podcast here. So make sure you follow us on all your different podcast apps, YouTube, and, of course, AtlantaFalcons.com is your answer for all the Falcons material you could be looking for. That's going to do it here for the Falcons Audible, presented by AT&T. That's DJ Shockley, a.k.a. Shock. That's Dave Archer, a.k.a. Arch. I'm Derek Rackley, a.k.a. Rack. I just wanted to run through. In case you're a first-time viewer or listener, we sometimes throw these nicknames out. You never know exactly who we're talking about. That's us. Thanks so much for joining us, Falcons Audible, presented by AT&T. That'll wrap it up. We'll be back next week to wrap up primetime matchup, Sunday Night Football, Falcons at 49ers. Thanks so much for joining us.